What an insane episode. We've got plenty of reveals and twists to get through and so many Easter eggs to uncover, so let's get straight into it. We start off immediately where we left off in the last episode, with the Bad Batch escaping Crosshair and Omega still being captured by Cad Bane. We then cut to a meeting on Kamino between Lama Su, Nala Se, and Tuan We. This is the first time we are introduced to Tuan We in the Bad Batch, but she has actually appeared in other Star Wars projects before. Making her first appearance in Attack of the Clones, Tuan We was the administrative aide of Lama Su and was instrumental in the creation of the clone army. She oversaw the development of clone troopers in Tipoca City. Tuan We, while certainly very intelligent, was still quite naive, a trait Obi Wan exploited to learn more about the clone army. And as quickly as we are introduced to her in this episode, we also learn of her death at the hand of Fennec Shan. During the episode, it becomes evidently clear that Nala Se has some attachment for Omega, and we learn that there is a bit of a political rift between the Kaminoans, with the Prime Minister intent on recovering Omega, extracting a DNA sample and finally getting rid of her, whereas Nala Se was much more interested in protecting her. This explains why Nala Se was so hesitant to hire Cad Bane in the last episode while still willing to hire Fennec Shan. Then we finally learn about the massive reveal. We learn that Omega is in fact a perfect replica of Jango Fett himself. And Tech later confirms that this means that Omega is in fact exactly like Boba Fett himself. This revelation that Omega is a pure first generation genetic replica of Jango Fett is huge because of so many different implications. Sure, it basically confirmed why Omega is so valuable for the Kaminoans, but it also means that in a strange sense, Boba has a little sister. This could strongly suggest that we might be seeing a young Boba make an appearance sometime in the future. If you're familiar with Boba's character, you'll know that Boba is in fact extremely protective of his father's legacy. While he does consider himself to be superior and different to the other clones in the Republic army, he might not think the same given that she is a perfect replication just like him. In the case of Boba, he is a first generation copy with no rapid aging or any additional traits that the normal clones have, so this would also apply to Omega. It's entirely possible that sometime in the future of the series, Boba will cross paths with Omega, and it'll be super interesting to see how he reacts to this, knowing that he has a sister. With this revelation, it just might be a hint that we will be seeing something like this down the line. Another interesting detail is that Boba is codenamed by the Kaminoans to be Alpha, which in Greek lettering essentially means the first. And as we all know, Omega is the last of the Greek alphabet, and in between are 22 other letters such as Beta, Zeta, and Epsilon. So, could this mean that there were other exact genetic replications besides Boba and Omega? Is it possible that the Kaminoans attempted to reproduce as many perfect clones as possible? If so, what happened to them? If this was truly the case, it might be a situation where Omega and Boba are the only two successful replications where all others failed, so let me know what you think in the comments down below. Throughout the episode, we also get a good look at Cad Bane's head, which clearly has some sort of metal plate on it. This injury that Cad Bane has is a clear reference to the duel between him and Boba Fett, in which Boba defeated him in an unfinished episode of the Clone Wars. We have previously assumed that he would be dead after this duel, but it seems that Cad Bane isn't quite so willing to die anytime soon. Next, we move on to the showdown between Fennec Shan and Cad Bane. As I predicted in an earlier video, we will get a showdown between the two, and based on what we can see, it is quite clear that at this point in time, Cad Bane, while certainly still a force to be reckoned with, appears to have slowed down a lot, presumably to his old age or injury. So it's quite clear that Fennec does get the upper hand when it comes to hand-to-hand combat, and she herself is able to go toe-to-toe with one of the best in the galaxy. We then get a really creepy scene of Omega sneaking through the abandoned Kaminoan facility and looking at some really old cloning equipment. We get a glimpse of what looks like to be an oddly looking Celestin in a cloning chamber. Then, after one of the cloning chamber breaks, the clone falls on Fennec Shan, and we get a look at another different species which appears to be a Kaminoan, although a lot buffer than usual. In the movie Attack of the Clones, Lama Su does in fact mention that the Kaminoans did experiment with other species, so this could be a reference to that. As Omega makes her escape, she notices some Kaminoan flight pods. The Kaminoan flight pods first appeared in the Clone Wars episode Arc Trooper, where during the Battle of Kamino, General Grievous used them to pick up Ventress and escape off-world. It was also later used by Fives to escape Kamino. At the end of the episode, Hunter tells Omega that they are never ever going to go back to Kamino, but with Cad Bane still after them and Lama Su still requiring Omega to keep the cloning project alive, I have a sinking suspicion that that might not be a promise he can keep. That's all for today's video. Let me know what you think about the episode in the comments down below. As always, be sure to like and subscribe, and I will see you in the next one. I am the Lost Acolyte,
and I have spoken.